Well, let's start the show officially. Welcome back to World's Strongest Opinions, episode 56, Return of Dan Hughes. I wish I could say off a fresh win. It's still not very old, but it was tough getting through the holidays and everything. But
our 30 days.
Exactly 30 days, man. So I mean, it's still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, huge congratulations, World's Strongest Man under 105. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's always good to be here.
Yeah. So, I mean, OSG, that was when I meet you in like 2020 in Texas.
July 2020. It's actually funny. I was looking for something in my phone and I saw it was the like rules and events sheet for the Ronnie Coleman Classic.
Yeah.
When we met, and I was like, wow, that's funny that I see that today.
Yeah. No, man. So, I mean, and I guess in 3 years, 3.5, call it 3.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been competing since when?
2017. August 2017 was the first time I did a comp.
So, I mean, that's still, 6 years.
Yep.
6 years going to making it and winning like the most prestigious world championship for weight class athletes in the world, man. That's a pretty fast climb. I mean, even just like the progress you made since I met you has been insane.
I think that's because I think we talked about it some in the last episode. I mean, when I say I started competing, that was the first competition I did.
Sure.
I've been lifting. I wasn't big, but even in high school, I was on the weightlifting team. And like I competed in bodybuilding in 2014 and was training for that for years before.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's all of that helped. Like every bit of that helped. It wasn't like I don't want anybody to think that it was in 2017. I was like, I wonder what lifting weights is like. and then fast forward 6 years, like I mean, it definitely wasn't like that at all.
Right. I don't think anybody's quite done that before. Just started lifting weights randomly and just like won a world championship like 5 or 6 years later.
I don't know. I've seen some NFL athletes who they're just like, oh, I've never really like done this movement before, and then they power clean 405, and they're like, did I do it right?
That's because they're just stupid strong already. I was just talking about a guy that he was like on disability or something from the Raiders, and he ended up training with us. Me and James Deffenbaugh, like way back in the day, and this dude, like his first time under a yoke with like 750, just like blasted, right? Like nothing. Yeah,
does 50 feet in 6 seconds, and he's like, "Is that exactly? Is that good?
Yeah, is that good? Exactly. That was the exact words out of his mouth. Is that good? Like we're all just like
force.
Yeah. So it helps to actually have a foundation, obviously, before you get into strongman. But dude, I mean, awesome. I mean, amazing victory. I know you've been really close the last couple of years to win. I mean, I know you podiumed the Clash, you podiumed OSG last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then came in and took the win.
Yep.
Pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I still, it's like we said, it's been 30 days and it's still like, it's kind of unreal to me. I don't know. I feel like I was getting, and it hasn't been that long, but being so close for the last like 2 years in multiple competitions of like winning, it was just like, maybe I will always just be the podium guy. And I was starting to, which isn't a healthy way of thinking, but that is like, trying to be transparent. Like that is kind of seeping into my mind. And so I kind of got stuck mentally in a spot of like, I don't have what it takes to win. I have what it takes to be good. I don't have what it takes to win, which is a lie that I was telling myself.
So how did you overcome that? How did you overcome that? Like, I mean, going into this training cycle into OSG, I mean, did you carry that through this training cycle, or is there like an epiphany somewhere, there some kind of motivation or inspiration along the way that changed that mindset?
I think that I don't remember how far out. I think it was before I started my actual prep. So it would have been like, I think we did 10 weeks of prep if not 8 or 9. Like obviously, like my training blocks before that we knew I was doing OSG, but I mean like the deliberate comp prep, and it was like the tail end of the last strength block before I started the comp prep. I just had a terrible week training wise, and I mean in hindsight it'll sound silly because it's very obvious what happened. I was just fatigued. Like I had done, it was my second strength block in a row. It had all been going really well. But then I just had this week that like, it probably should have been a deload, but because of how well things were going, Terry and I were like, okay, well, let's ride this wave and then we'll take a deload and get into, comp prep. But it was like, I was just failing stuff left and right. And it was not like I was failing PRs either. Like it was bad. And I was just like, the first 2 sessions that week, I was like, okay, whatever. It's frustrating. Like every day can't be your best day in the gym. But by the 3rd day that week, it was like, I can't press 275 pounds. Like I can't push press it right now. Like what is happening? And then I got lost in my head. One of the bad things about training alone so much is it's really easy to just like, when you're having a great workout, it's easy to, keep yourself company and still be happy. Right. But when you're having a terrible workout, it's easy to slip into, even the most experienced lifters that I've talked to slip into that, negative thought process. And it was just like, I think also that week, this will also sound silly in hindsight, but again, like this is just being honest where I was at this time. I've seen a bunch of people who, like younger guys who were just that week everybody in the world decided to max out and hit PRs that week. The week that I'm just like not doing anything impressive, even though I'm trying to. And so I really got into my head. I told Terry, I was like, bro, I fucking suck. I've been doing this for this long. My overhead press PR, because the day that this all happened, it was a pressing day. And I was like, I pressed in 2007 or 2018, I pressed a 325 log. I can't even press a 270 log right now. Like, what the hell's happening, man? I was like, this ain't it. I was like, I thought this was going to be easier when I got out of the Army. I feel just as shitty. Like, you can kind of go on a little, like I was whining. Like, I'm not. And I was just like really emotional about it. And then Terry and I had a long talk about it. And obviously I was being irrational with my thoughts there. But from then on, it was just like, one, it doesn't matter. Like the goal isn't to win, it's to bring the best version of myself to the competition. Yeah. And if you do that, like some people say that, or some people hear that and they hear like, oh, he doesn't care about winning. And that's not it at all. Obviously I care about winning. Like winning is important to me. But if you're so focused on the outcome, you lose sight of the process.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of just, we readjusted, and it was all stuff I already knew. Like the stuff Terry and I talked about, I even answered some of my own questions in that conversation. But you just need perspective.
A sounding board or something.
Relearn and be retaught the same principles, and that's kind of what that week was. And so it was just like, stay focused, take it day by day, do all the little stuff correctly, like all the stuff that I already knew. It's not groundbreaking stuff, but none of it is groundbreaking stuff. And I think anybody who's telling you something is groundbreaking with what they did is probably a charlatan. I mean, consistency and just doing the right things regularly is the way to success. And it won't always yield success, but you can't have success without that. So after that happened, training ended up going pretty well, and we did a much better job. I shouldn't say a much better job, but we did a good job of managing fatigue. And I did a better job of communicating with Terry, because he's good at communicating with me when I communicate with him, but I'm not his only client. Right. And he says it all the time. I'm one of his least troublesome. I'm one of his least. How do you put it? He was just like, I don't worry about you at all because you never talk to me, type of thing. Because I know most of his programming is great, and I love his programming, and I follow it. Occasionally, I have questions, but most of it, especially at this point, working with him for several years now, like I know what the intent is, programs up on time, I do it. I don't send him too much stuff because I watch all my own videos and I know if I'm doing something poorly or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so this time I did a better job of communicating with him. Because a lot of times he would have to pull it out of me and he'd be like, so I'm assuming you trained this week. How'd it go? And I'm like, oh yes, I forgot. I'm supposed to tell you stuff. But so that also helped, but not so much. I mean, it helped from a physical perspective and training perspective, but it also helped me more with the mental perspective to hear someone that you trust in the sport that, I mean, we are friends, but he doesn't owe me anything to be nice to me for no reason. Like he's going to be blunt and objective when he's critiquing my training and stuff like that. Sure. So having that also helped.
Yeah. Well, I like that you said that the goal should be bringing the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Rather than winning. I know we've talked about this long time ago on the show. I talk about it really quite often with people that I meet, especially new lifters or new strongman athletes. They're afraid to lose, and if they can't win, they don't want to do the show. And I'm always saying, like, the goal isn't to win, right? It's to, I always say, not quite to bring the best version of yourself, which is really the end goal, but to be better than you were yesterday, right? Which is the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like a really important lesson, or it's a really important, talking point in strongman. My computer wants to restart for important updates. No. Why is that doing that right now? No.
I feel like a lot of people. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
A lot of people. I hear so many very successful athletes, and not just athletes, like, entrepreneurs, really in any profession or career who are very successful. They say similar things, and people hear it so much that I think it's just like it's the same as any other like advice of make sure you eat all your food, make sure you get a good night's sleep. Like it's like, well, yeah, obviously, but then nobody follows it because it's not like groundbreaking advice. It's not
right.
It's not like wake up at 5 a.m. and take an ice bath advice. It's like just do what you're supposed to do. Focus on yourself, especially in an individual sport. A lot of people, it's like, I want to win. And it's like, okay, a thing I've said the last couple of years, I don't go to beat anybody. I go to win, if that makes sense.
Right.
And obviously, to win, you have to beat people. But the point is I'm not going there to like, I'm not focused on what my competition's doing because that's giving them power to affect how I perform.
Sure.
If I'm focused on myself and what I'm doing, I'm not wasting any energy because you only have a finite amount of brain energy every day.
Sure.
So and emotional energy. So if you're wasting that thinking about stuff that's out of your control, specifically in a competition environment, like that's just all those distractions.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah. And, so it's not groundbreaking stuff, like I said, but that's what's.
But it's tried and true stuff, though, right?
It is.
It's stuff that works, and it's been proven to work over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. But no one wants to hear simple stuff. They're like, no, make it more complicated, please.
Well, there's a reason that those people aren't winning, right?
Because they're not drinking the new Pedialyte. You guys see this new Pedialyte? The fast hydration. It's different than the sport hydration. And no, I am not sponsored by Pedialyte.
No. I just had one of it was like a 3 times like hydration, immune system boosting something Pedialyte.
This one has magnesium, whereas the sport one, ironically, doesn't have magnesium.
Interesting.
Yeah, this one has potassium, magnesium, and chloride, and I think the other one has potassium, zinc, and chloride.
That's a check. But I do like the little sport ones that are like 3 times the flavor.
Yeah, that's what I thought because they were right next to each other, and I was like, that's new. I haven't seen that, but I like that it has the magnesium instead. So
yeah, I'm not smart enough to have noticed there was that little cutting thing on the top, and I'm like, I just paid $8 for this, and I can't even get it open. Like,
you got to buy a knife to stab it in.
Pedialyte's so good though.
It really is.
I've been drinking it after every training session lately.
I thought about doing that today, and I was like, "There's got to be a cheaper solution to this."
Well, there is. You can buy. So you can buy the box of powder, which makes the same quantity, and it's like I don't know. It's like $5 or $6 for like 12 sticks or something.
Oh, that makes more sense. It's probably cheaper than like liquid IVs and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just like liquid IV, just powder poured in. Yeah, and it's Pedialyte.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I usually throw in my bags when I'm traveling, so I don't have to go to the store or whatever. Well, but now I know about Instacart, so I'm a boomer. I just learned about Instacart at OSG.
Wait, what's Instacart?
You don't know what Instacart is?
I don't think so.
It's like an app. You just go and you like find the local grocery store, and they go and they pick up your groceries for you, and then they deliver to your door.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't realize there's like a central app. I mean, I know like we've gotten groceries from Kroger up here, which is like the Midwest grocery store. Yeah, if you're unfamiliar.
We have Kroger here. It's just called King Soopers, but it's Kroger. Yeah.
Yeah. We had like order ahead. I know Whole Foods does it through Amazon. So we don't really have a Whole Foods close to us here, but we did in Louisville. But yeah, I just didn't know there was an app, like a central app for it.
Yeah, Instacart, man. It was really convenient. When you're out competing, you're like cutting weight and everything. You don't want to like
get shot in Charleston, West Virginia.
Oh man, where we walked, John, me, and Luke Davis, man, where we were walking was sketch, dude. Wow.
The first night there, Jeff Lee and my wife and I, we went to the Kroger, the closest Kroger to the hotel in the venue, and I was just like, I looked at Nat and I was like, I'm so glad Jeff's with us. I was like, we need a group. There was a guy just smashing his cart against the meat section.
Nice.
Just like yelling.
That's amazing.
Like, what is happening?
See, and that's why you Instacart, man. So you don't have to go, you don't have to leave your hotel room. You just have them deliver your groceries right to your door.
Now I know, just in case it's in Charleston, West Virginia again next year,
or worse. I don't know, man. I didn't think Charleston was so bad. I mean, no, it was a nice reprieve for like rush hour traffic. Here it's like it's just jam packed. There's like 4 cars.
Yeah. No, honestly, like that Kroger was it was just the other direction. And one of my friends, Derek. He's a DPT that works out of our gym here, RTS. He came down and he's from Charleston, West Virginia. So he showed us we had dinner one night at a pretty nice Italian place. There's definitely better spots, but it was just the first like hour that we checked in our hotel, and then we went to the worst, because I told him where we went and he goes, yeah, you picked the worst place in all of Charleston.
That's amazing.
Like, well, now I know.
Oh man, but
we property walk everywhere else and we're fine. So
property in West Virginia, man, you can buy a house for like $38,000.
Well, I know my in-laws moved there from California. They sold a house in Turlock, which is just south of Modesto. Which it wasn't a huge house, it wasn't a tiny house, but it was insane what that money bought them in West Virginia.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, I could sell my house for, I could buy like 20 or 30 houses in Charleston for what I sell my house for.
We were walking the dogs, because we took the dogs with us last week, walking the dogs in this bunch of townhomes, and we got a neighborhood that looked super nice. And I was like, I bet you the one house looked like the McAllister's house in Home Alone. It was like really nice house. And I said, I bet you our house costs that much. And she was like, 5 minutes in, she was like, it's $5,000 cheaper than our house. And I was like, I knew it. It was so nice. And it was probably like 5 times the size of our house.
Nice.
On probably like a quarter, maybe a third of an acre of land, end of a cul-de-sac. And I was just like, wow, that's what that money gets you here.
That's where you need, like, John, you need to like you need to see, like, take your remote job, move to Charleston, West Virginia, buy a super cheap house and live like a king, man.
Yeah.
Just like bank all of your money.
Because like our Airbnb, they had done like a pretty cheap remodel for it, but apparently they bought it for $54,000 and their mortgage was $275 a month, and they charged us $90 a night for the 4 days we stayed there. I was like, you guys made literally 2 months worth of mortgages.
But you gotta imagine though,
weekend. Like,
they're probably not renting that thing out very often.
that's true.
Yeah, it's not exactly. There's probably a reason it's still, because I was gonna say $90 is pretty cheap for.
Oh yeah.
Still cheaper than a hotel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
True.
But I imagine they can't have it too high because it's, I mean, there's really not much there. I'm sure it's a nice place to live in and grow up, but like it's not a vacation destination to my knowledge.
By any means.
True.
But
real estate's insane though, because we spent Christmas in Minneapolis and Andy's sister was there from Northern Virginia. And she was like, dude, houses are dirt cheap here. You can get a house for under $400,000. I was like, what are you talking about dirt cheap? She was like, we paid $300,000 for like a townhouse, like a tiny. And I was like, we bought our house like 2 stories, nice garage, 2,000 square feet, and like decent amount of land for like $250,000, and that felt expensive in my mind.
Yeah, it's starting to go up, and because her parents live in like Falling Waters, West Virginia, so it's like 45 minutes outside of DC. And so because all of the other, like they're like an exit south of the Maryland border, on I think 71, maybe, but now DC commuters are starting to move there because all those other typical or standard commuting towns are getting so overpopulated that they're expanding. So real estate is actually starting to go up in that area, which is, I mean, that's the way it goes. But
still,
people near DC do insane commutes. I had like, because when we because we met in Harrisonburg, Virginia, we knew people who literally, they were like, oh, my commute's about 90 minutes. I was like, round trip? It's like, no, that's one way. I was like, I cannot fathom spending 3 hours in traffic. Like here in Texas, people complain about the traffic. They'll be like, it took me 45 minutes to get here. I'm like, you went 30 miles and there's a toll road that was 85 miles per hour for half of it. Like
before I got out of the Army and we completely moved to Louisville, my wife was driving almost 2 hours each way to Cincinnati. But just because it was like that awkward time period where getting an apartment or something for her, it wasn't really long enough to do that, and we knew we were going to move here full time, so it was like so I still owe her for that.
So only 2 hours to Cincy for Louisville? I thought it was like 3.
No, that's 2. And so she works out of the airport, which is on the Kentucky side.
Sure.
It was like an hour 45 with zero traffic is about hour 45. There were multiple times where it took about 3 hours with traffic.
Sure.
And that was just like sitting in because that highway is not super great either.
Yeah. But, I thought about flying into Cincy a couple of times when I was visiting Louisville. Man, I kind of thought it was.
I don't know if it's cheaper or not.
Yeah, it's way cheaper.
Definitely a better airport.
Yeah.
Or a bigger airport, I should say. There's not really anything wrong with Louisville Airport. It's just small.
Right.
I know Jeff Lee flew into Cincinnati Airport for OSG, and then we drove together because it was so much cheaper. It's because it was a 3.5 hour drive for us.
That's not bad.
No, it wasn't. It was actually super
really nice.
Convenient.
Yeah.
The way Jeff Lee's built is insane. I forgot to mention that the first time. Like his shoulders, like literally just built like an anime character. I was like, I think someone whose delts like stand out like 2 inches from their shoulders.
Yeah.
I was like, that's wild. And two, then that stone run. I was like, they said like no one had done it before. Then he just hits it easily. I was like, is that the same stone weight then?
Oh yeah, Jeff's insane. I think.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure when he listens to this, he will correct me. But I think it was Clash 2022. It was when they were doing like the record breakers that night before. So they had some heavy Atlas stones. I think in Crocs and beltless, he just like he loaded a 450 stone, and like this is the morning after competing. And he was just like, "Oh, I'll do it. No tacky, no belt, and Crocs." Did like it was like a 450 stone, loaded it in the back of a truck. I know I think he has a desire to break the the world record, and I don't think he'll have any issue doing it because I don't know how he has the stone loading capability of a super heavyweight, of a professional super heavyweight. But yeah,
that's insane.
I'm excited to see that. You got any predictions of the record breakers in Ireland?
I don't know who's doing it, to be honest. I don't know if I haven't seen a list or anything. I've been loosely following it, but I haven't seen a announcement of any list.
I think Jeff is.
I know he talked about it.
Like, yeah.
I don't think he's confirmed. I think Jeff 100% can break the stone record, which is what, still
502.
502?
Yeah.
I think he could do that. I know his shoulder. I don't think he's been training that much since, but to be fair, neither have I. But his shoulder is still, he's got to work through that. But his shoulder didn't hold him back at all. It was his G on the stones. It did on some of the stuff. Certainly did on the stones. But I don't know who's going for it.
I would expect Emmanuel to be in that list because I know he's been trying to break it for a while.
Well, he has the Austrian one, right? Which is like 450. I think it's it's like a little over 200 kilos.
Yeah.
And then I think he got hurt trying to do higher.
Yeah, tore his hamstring or something.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to do 230 kilos or something, but there was like big weight period and he had cooled down. And like,
exactly.
If you get cold doing stones, your hamstrings are not going to enjoy that.
But I don't know what other events, because the way I understand it,
it's mainly log and deadlift, I think, is where it all started. And
or
I think there's been interest in doing other things. So
I assume there's log and deadlift for sure. And then but I wasn't sure if it was kind of like the odds of like people just like, hey, I would like to do this record, like some of the more obscure records. I wasn't sure if it was going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, I randomly can just like do a 450 a hand farmers. Can I do this?
Right.
And then no one else is competing against you.
Right.
So, Darren's favorite kind of records, the abstract ones that are time, distance, all this stuff.
No, they got to be like I'm crazy about how I don't want to see a bunch of just random like disjointed records. I just want to see
like somebody who's never competed before or like who's never competed at a high level, but for some whatever reason they're like world class at one very specific.
Right. Well, that I don't care about, but I don't want somebody to go and carry 500 pounds for 15 feet and call it a fucking world record, right? I want it to be like 50 feet, no drops. That's all.
Yeah. No,
handles a certain height, like 18-inch handles or whatever.
Yeah, that's why they're but I don't know. I'm excited to watch it. I don't think aside for farmers, I don't think there's anything that I, at least at this point, care to try and pursue world record wise.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was training for ASM, I definitely didn't start that prep thinking I was going to do the 400 a hand. It was just kind of like 2 weeks into it. I was like, apparently I have really good grip.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. I've been around long enough for way too long. I remember when a 330 pounds a hand farmers was just an insane number for U105, right? I mean, and a 750 pound deadlift was like insane for U105. Yeah. Actually, I think 700 was actually really impressive back in like before 2010, right?
Yeah. And now people are shooting. A lot of guys are like, I just want a 400 pound overhead press and an 800 pound deadlift. Yeah. It's just like, somebody says that and they're like, yeah, that's reasonable.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
That's not normal.
Yeah, because the pressing has gotten insane. And I think you touched on it briefly of like, you were talking about the week that you were struggling. Yeah. That's the hard thing about social media. Because if you ever want to feel shitty about yourself, like find your best lift you've ever done and then find a dozen people who have just smashed it by hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
Like those people, the guys who just like, because now apparently everyone can strict press over 500 pounds, like those heavyweight guys, like Tyler Obringer and other people. They're like, oh, it's out of a rack, but here's 455 for a set of 5. You're like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Seriously. And sometimes I haven't been able to quite convince myself on press, but there's been times on deadlifts. Some of my personal bests on deadlifts, part of the thought process is like you've literally watched a 17-year-old do this. Like, right. I can do this. And then it goes up and you're like, yeah, 17-year-old ain't got shit on me. Yeah.
Dude, there's some young.
I haven't been able to use that same thought process for overhead pressing.
There's some young kids out there, man. I haven't seen him in a while, but there was this kid that was like 17. And he was squatting like fucking 900 pounds, man.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
It's just insane.
It is this like super
specificity.
It's wild for anyone of any age, but especially a 17-year-old. Like,
makes you wonder. You don't hear about him. It's like, yeah, his spine probably freaking shattered.
Yeah. I mean, being young and dumb, he probably had no brakes on himself. And yeah. I mean, his form was good, so I mean, he knew how to squat.
No, yeah, I know. But oh damn, I was gonna say something along that the social media thing is like, even being very like hyper aware of the effect that it has. Sometimes you still, when you're isolated, it still has that effect, even though it's like, I understand why this should not affect me, but it's still affecting me.
Right. Well, the thing that happens when you get older, Dan, is that you start looking back at what you used to be able to do, and you're like, why do I suck so much? What happened? I used to be strong. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I'm like, because I definitely, without a doubt, I'm the strongest I've ever been. I don't think I definitely am not the fastest I've ever been, though, even in short bursts. And I'm like, well, at least I'm stronger than I was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing a lot of conditioning stuff too, man. Like, I've been seeing you doing all like the CrossFit-y kind of workouts. And
yeah, Terry and I like to do that for at least a couple weeks post-competition. I took a full week off after, and then the first week back, I think 2 of those days was purely body weight stuff. So like I posted something like the burpee box jumps, pull-ups, push-ups, body weight squats for like timed rest periods, stuff like that, which I really enjoy doing. Like that's the type of stuff I've done forever, longer than I've been lifting weights. And so it's really fun. It makes me feel athletic, if that makes sense. Like it just in the sense of like, it doesn't crush my joints. I feel like I can move like an athlete. And so it's a nice little like serotonin boost. It's like nothing impressive. Just, I felt good today.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of the things. It's like, and I said this before, when I stop competing, whenever that is, I'm probably going to join a CrossFit gym and just do the classes, because going in for a set hour where everything's timed, programmed for you, you don't have to think at all. You just do it. It's hard enough that you get a good workout in, your body's not broken, and you just go home in an hour.
Yeah. Dude, that's
fun.
fun.
To being in the gym for 3.5 hours and then leaving like, wow, I never want to be in a gym again. And then waking up the next day and doing the same thing over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you can actually, when you tell people what you do and they say, oh, at least you're healthy, you can be like, yeah, actually I am this time. Like,
yeah, exactly. Oh, you work out.
Strongman, not so much, but no,
you're healthy. For the first time in my life, I can say that's actually true this time.
That's actually true this time.
I think the athleticism is key, though. I was noticing that you and Emmanuel were like the only people doing the strongman pull-ups, where he was doing the muscle ups and challenged everyone. I was like, that's always impressive to me, because that's a fun like party trick that like when you talk about like serotonin boosts, it's like something like that. You're like, it looks cool, and everyone on the internet objectively thinks it's great, or they think it's somehow the most dangerous thing you could possibly do.
That's what I couldn't believe. Like how many people were just like talking about, you guys are gonna hurt yourself and shit. I'm like,
it's like, bro, have you seen me do a max deadlift? Like, no one says you're gonna hurt yourself when I do that.
Yeah. You're running with an 800 or 900 pound yoke, and like one girl broke her tibia last year, or whatever. It was.
Nancy, that haunts me. That video of those car things, like you're like. But yeah, somehow muscle ups though. That's the limit. They're like, and I was like, it's literally just body weight. He does more than that overhead all the time.
Body weight is somehow egregious.
Yeah,
I meant to actually ask him about that. Because he was doing them, and then I did them, but I learned how to do them when I weighed like 190 pounds, and I did it because I was training for bodybuilding, and a guy who had trained me sometimes. This was I was in college. He competed in CrossFit, and so he would always do them, and he'd be like, "Oh, you're bigger and stronger than me, but like you can't do this." And so he would always leave the gym, and when he would leave, I would practice muscle ups over and over and over again. And then one day I just popped up and did like 5 in a row in front of him, and he was like, "When the hell did you learn to do that?" And I said, "I've been practicing for weeks."
Nice.
In the shadows. But then so it's just one of those things that as I got heavier, I wouldn't say I practice them. I just kind of like see if I can do it as I get bigger, and it's mostly technique anyway. So
yeah,
but that's why people are like, it's crazy you can do this. And I was like, I mean, it's like saying it's crazy that I can do push-ups. You just keep doing them. You learn to do them at one weight, and you get stronger. And as long as you keep practicing them, you can do them.
Right.
But
I need to try to muscle up now. I tried doing muscle ups after like a pretty intense overhead pressing session, and I just couldn't quite make it.
Yeah, I was really hesitant the last time I did it for a similar reason, but there was a kid much younger than me at the gym he had been practicing. I'd been giving him tips on ring muscle ups for a couple weeks.
Sure.
And he was like, "Hey, you want to do bar muscle ups with me?" And I was like, I really don't want to hurt myself. And I was like, but it was the same week that Emmanuel posted doing them.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'll do it for the gram. So I did it. And it was funny because I did a set of like 15 and I didn't hit record.
Nice.
And so I was like, damn it, I got to do this again. And so the second one, I just did like 4 in a row. And I was like, yeah, whatever, close enough.
That's awesome.
That's
I think Emmanuel posted like 1 rep. So
he did a couple. I think he did the same thing I did, though. I think he cut it short. I think the video he cut short.
Right. Sure.
I don't know. It doesn't really matter because, like you said, it's a party trick. So.
Yeah, it's a party trick.
The amount of times, though, I've walked to my phone and you stop recording and then you pick it up to go look at the video and it's the recording button's on and I'm like, oh, cool! I recorded 3 seconds of me looking at my phone. That's all I have. It's like it happens perpetually. I'm like, oh, I'm like, nice, and then I'm like, why is the recording button on now that I turned it off?
I don't double check because I film pretty much all of my main mover sets. Just because I'm training by myself, but I never double check for just regular sets. But if I'm about to do something like a PR or something, I'll check like 2 or 3 times before.
Right.
But
I'd be like the same way. Ring cameras in the corner.
Yeah.
So they'll just post the ring footage.
Yeah. It's a shame what social media has done to us.
True.
People used to just live in the moment. And now look at us. Can't even lift without our cameras on. I'm ashamed of who I've become.
I've actually spent most of last month, I didn't record anything I did. So it's been weird because a part of it, you want to have receipts to be like, trust me, I'm still doing stuff. Like, but it's kind of been like a nice break to just like occasionally post stories. It's nice. Like you get the reactions, but then it's just gone rather than like having to deal with like posts and everything.
That's what I post mostly is just stories. I don't know. I hate social media so much, but then I do have that like desire. I want to have like really, really nice like video quality that's edited super well.
I would love to have a camera person.
You can't do that on your own.
Yeah, you can't. That's why all my stuff obviously is just from a camera stand.
Right. I mean, Thor seems to get away with it, but I mean,
Well, yeah, when you're deadlifting 900 pounds for reps, it's a little bit,
right.
There is a certain point where it crosses of like video quality versus athletic prowess supersedes.
Yeah.
One supersedes the other. So
the Arnold's going to be wild now that Thor's back. Like seeing that lineup, that's going to be one of the craziest things of this year.
I'm glad
his deadlift looks strong as hell. His overhead press doesn't look like it's coming back as fast, but
his last injury was his torn pec, though. Sure. That's probably why.
Yeah, it could be. Good point.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know for me, deadlift always comes back way faster for me than pressing does.
Mine used to. Not anymore. It's the opposite.
Well, I've also just never been like pressing's never been my most mastered lift, I guess, or like best event. So I don't think the muscle memory is there the same way it is for deadlift, whereas it's like I hadn't done a conventional deadlift for probably 10 weeks during ASM prep. And then I came back and pulled 771 for the first time. It was like a 25-pound PR.
Nice. Wow.
And I had been doing Ukrainian deadlift, which when I thought about it, it was like, well, that was obviously a really good like accessory for conventional deadlift because it worked on weak points in my conventional. But as far as like all the reps leading up to it, it felt completely natural. Whereas if I don't press a log for a while and I get under a log, I'm like, it feels like a completely foreign movement. I've never done it before. And I feel like I don't feel the same with axle. Axle, like, it's easy enough for me to get under it and be like, this feels fine. I feel like every time I start a block with log, which is why we're starting with log now. I got to do log tomorrow, actually, unfortunately. I feel so awkward. Like a foal learning how to walk for the first time.
Right. Well, I stopped lifting basically everything for 3 months. I mean, everything was like slow, or I mean, it's for speed and like explosiveness doing Highland games. And then I came back and my press came back quick, but man, deadlift has been hard to get back to where I used to be. Yeah.
And you used to have a pretty good deadlift, right?
Yeah. I used to have a very strong deadlift. It was hands down. I mean, my best raw was like 835 with straps, 800.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's just now, I don't know, it's feeling good now, but going into OSG, I missed 725 in training too, in a suit, in like a heavy suit.
Do you think it's a body composition thing on how you restructure training and like taking a break?
I don't know what it is. I wish I knew because body structure, like composition, I mean, maybe a little because I lost a lot of weight. So I got down to like 226 this summer, which is the lightest I'd been in a decade or more, probably. So I don't know. Just it's coming back. It's just taking a lot longer than everything else. Everything else feels fine, but deadlift is just shit.
I think that's also part of the reason deadlift comes back for me is I think genetically I hold on to muscle mass more in my lower body than I do my upper body. Yeah. Because it's not just overhead pressing. Like I'm the same way with bench. I lose size in my arms really fast, like way faster than I will like in my back and my legs. So that I don't know enough about that particular aspect of
I don't either
physiology, but I just know like not even just strength wise, just size wise, I lose way more size in my upper body than I do in my lower body.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I don't know. My upper body grows really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when I was doing bodybuilding. That was like a blessing and a curse because I actually got to train legs less than a lot of my competitors, but I had to train upper body all the time to the point that it's like I actually don't care about training my upper body anymore.
Right. Yeah, I need to stop training upper body so much because I don't need to.
Yeah.
I was pressing twice a week, but I think I'm going to just start pressing once a week.
Yeah.
And focus more on lower body.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Yeah. I mean, got to bring your weaknesses up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or just hammer your strengths, like our friend Deadliest Lift doing his insane deadlifts, which the newest one has been the wrapping the rope around the neck and down the back, and he lifts the bar with his. He loops the ropes and then holds the ropes and does it. He said he only has worked up to 6 plates doing that. And he said it makes you feel like you're going to black out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you clipped what you just said, I would think you were talking about erotic asphyxiation.
Oh my god!
I'm trying to picture what you just described. Those ropes and bands around the neck and back, and
it's the S&M lift
and pulling as hard as you can.
I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick because that actually would be pretty like. You're gonna need. There's gonna need to be playback on this one. Because it is like describing it. I realized because I was trying to send it to a friend recently, and I was like. Let's hope it's okay. It's still here.
They responded with, "Oh yeah, I've seen this video."
No, one of my friends actually told me to stop sending the videos. He's like, I don't like that. Just makes me feel unpleasant. Like, I was like, no, these are good videos. This is like the content we need out there. Are you ready for this? Functional training. Yeah, so it's looped around, twisted twice because people said last time because he didn't twist it, they were claiming his traps were doing the lifting.
That's a rubber band or just a rope?
Just ropes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just but last time people were hassling him because
he's got the shirt that I'm wearing. I'm wearing a hoodie version of it.
Oh, nice. Shout out Rascal Apparel. But people, they were hassling him because when he doesn't have the things around his neck, they were claiming that the traps were doing too much of the lifting, and they're saying the range of motion sucks on this. I was like, that's 6 plates with a rope around your neck as a noose. Like he actually tried doing it as a squat one time, and I think he worked up to 3 plates and almost blacked out. And it was a real bad miss because his hands. He said when he panicked, his hands held onto the rope, so he's still like fighting himself because it's like full on.
The look he has when he walks away is the look I have when I'm like, I don't want to say it out loud, but it's like, I definitely just hurt myself. Like I am.
Yeah.
Please, no one talk to me and I'm not ready to speak.
No, he does. Like all of his things with the Bulgarian split squats with 455. They're like, just in case you want to do something that's real fun.
He's like the intentionally ironic version of that Seedman guy.
Oh yeah, no, Joel Seedman. This is the one that like people it was 325 pounds and he loops it under and gets it and just like full on.
This is amazing.
Yeah, just the setup. I know for our listeners, they're going to be like, you do have video on Spotify, by the way, so you can.
And this is worth it. I've never seen these videos, and I'm glad you built them.
Oh yeah, no, because they're saying his trap's doing too much of the lifting. They're saying it's not enough pressure on the neck, so that's why he's had to twist it into a noose now.
It's not enough pressure on the neck.
No, that's
you pussy.
You're right. That's why this lift is absurd. That's why it's absurd.
No, the best is the comments because all the time, like they'll be like, "Well, the range of motion's different." And everything. Yeah, his face for this one though is one of the most priceless reactions. Oh no, this wasn't the one where he's full on. There's one where he just misses it completely, and it's just probably one of the craziest things and everything. Oh, his eyes open.
People have been warning me for months. I never listened until today. I just realized how much danger is involved.
Yeah, see, he panics and his hands.
No, he's not panicking. He's blacking out, dude. That's why he's shaking.
Yeah, and he's fighting against his own hands. I'm like, this is one of those lifts where he's like, because to everyone they were like worried about it, and he was like, it's literally 2 plates. It cannot hurt me. It's just the theory of like,
this guy is awesome.
Oh, you have to. I'm
usually very much against like gimmicky lifts. But I like this guy. I like his style.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to. Of like, how many people do you see doing a 300-pound Atlas Stone kettlebell neck lift while standing on 2 others? Like,
I just like how much actual danger he's putting himself in.
Yeah, like it's an actual like it's a feat to witness. I was like, but it is. I just had to mention it because explaining it to people, they're like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, what you described is not what I just watched.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I was like, but eventually people are going to convince them to just do a full-on news because they'll be like, well, the twist doesn't tighten on the neck the same way. I was like, it's wild to watch, but his big thing is he doesn't believe people can press good because he'll like 0 pressing events and still win the strongman comp because he just nails everything else.
Well, that's I told Camby because Camby's win the press, win the show. Well, press was by far my worst event at OSG, and so was Jeff's. Jeff Lee. And Jeff Lee and I were like, we're gonna start our own seminar, and it's like, lose the press, still do all right in the show. Still do pretty okay.
That's true. Actually, lose the press, you're still the best. That's a good little
there you
slogan.
Go.
But it is
this is why we need you, John.
Yeah.
The last time I won a press event in a show, I didn't win. It was the 2022 Clash. I had the fastest time on the medley out of any heat, not just my own heat, out of any heat. And I still got third. So I'm just here to poke holes with anecdotal evidence. And
I'm just saying though, deadlift is king because you have Mateusz and Maxime were like pressing kings and have never won first place on things.
Well, Mateusz,
he got close. Oh yeah, he did.
I mean, they've won like Giants Live and they've just not won the big shows.
Did Mateusz not win World's Strongest Man? I thought he did the year after.
No, I think he's taken second. I think he's been second.
Yeah, because
he's only been third.
Yeah, it's one of those wild things. That's when you knew the sport was really getting wild because his straps tore doing 865 and like all the YouTube commenters, they're like, you're competing at this show and you can't even deadlift 900 pounds. I'm like, that was a world record like not that long ago.
Right?
And like everyone, they're like, why are you even here if you can't deadlift 900 pounds? I was like, this guy is stone to shoulders 455 like it's nothing.
Well, that's what social media is so wild is like, it ruins everyone's perspective on things because there's still like less than 20 people who have ever deadlifted over 1,000 pounds. And now people are like unimpressed if you can't deadlift 1,000 pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
or they blame
0.0000001% of the world can do that.
Yeah. They like to blame the sumo and everything. They'll just be like,
I'm talking about conventional strongmen. I mean, still like Jamal Browner's all over the place with his over 1,000 pound deadlifts, but there's not a lot of them.
Yeah,
to my knowledge.
There's not. There's still not very many. But it's funny because people won't count his, or they'll be like, well, it was sumo. Like anyone could do that.
Didn't he pull it over 1,000 at the? Because he did that Giants live show. He just did the.
He got close. He did 430 kilos without a suit.
Yeah, without a suit.
Yeah, raw. And just like walked up, did it easily, didn't hitch or anything. And he said next time he might think about a suit. But it's hard, like if you're not used,
if you've never worn,
people like to think that a suit will just like instantly help you. You can watch Darren actively almost die in his suit doing the.
Dude, I should not have worn that. I bought that new metal jack. Dude, it was the worst experience I think I've ever had in my entire life. I should have just stuck with my old worn out suit. Because I don't think it just gave me like a headache. That's all.
My suit is I'm the third person to own it. And you'll never guess. You might guess one of the people who owned it before, but you won't guess the first person who owned it.
Justin.
Justin was the last person who owned it. You won't guess who owned it before him. Gabby Bergholzer.
No way. Nice.
So I have her suit.
That's amazing.
That's so good.
Hell yeah.
And the disappointing thing for me is that when I first got it, it fit fine. And that was for the Ronnie Coleman because we could wear suits for that 13-inch deadlift, remember?
Right. Yeah.
And so I had got it for that from Justin. And I trained in it and it was fine. I mean, as fine as suits feel. And then I hadn't worn it since then, I don't think, until this train up. And I was like, oh, I'm probably going to have to get a new suit. This is going to be annoying. It slipped on and fit perfectly like a glove. And I was like, that's so disappointing. I am the same size that I was 3 years ago.
Awesome, man. It's the exact opposite of women in their wedding dresses. They'll be like, it still fits. Men with their deadlift suits, you're like, God damn it.
To save me money and time, though, because I mean,
that's true.
It worked.
$150. The price.
I went dropped like the metal jack like delivered is like 2 something. I don't remember, and I dropped it on there because I'm like, well, if I'm going OSG and my deadlift sucks this bad, I need extra deadlift suit, and it didn't do anything extra for me except for spike my blood pressure.
Because I was to the point where, because deadlifting was going so well before I started using the suit, that I was contemplating not using it. I'm glad I did. And I think what we came down, the deciding factor was that because it was day 2, we didn't want to leave anything to chance. If it was like a day 1 event, it was like, probably do this. But I also like, once I got used to it and moving in it and like perfected how tight I needed it, or I guess how loose I needed it to be. Because like how I wore it was not how I would wear it if I was going for a true 1 rep max.
Sure.
That's probably true for everybody who's competing there. It was just tight enough that it helped. But like I could move pretty well. So because I didn't think I was going to get, well, I knew I could do the 800. I think I was in the last heat. And so once I knew I didn't have to do the 800 because no one ahead of me at that point got it, I just knew I had to do the first 4 as fast as possible.
Right.
And I knew I didn't have to strap in for any of them. So that worked out pretty well for me. I've also never pulled on an elephant bar or mammoth bar or whatever they are. And that was a lot different than I thought it was going to be.
It's
a weird
I don't know. A lot of people think that it's easy. I mean, there's obviously it seems like it should be easier because you get the bar higher before all the weight comes off of it. But the oscillation can totally just stop you dead in your tracks.
I think I wasn't used to the sensation of pulling like 3 or 4 inches of slack super easily and then it all hitting you at once.
Right.
I watched the video. I actually didn't think I got it off the ground at all. When I watched the video, I got it like an inch or 2 off. I did completely break it off the floor, but it was just like, because I had made the decision in my head. I was like, if it's not going to come up like right away, it doesn't matter. Right. You got 3 more events left on the weekend.
Right.
And so that's why you see in the video, like I blitzed through the first 4. And then I catch my breath and like actually strapped in for that one. I pulled it as soon as I like hit any resistance. I was like, nope, done. Doesn't matter. So it was a lot of wasted energy. And
it's probably a good call.
But I also knew with how fast the first 4 were, and watching everyone before me, I was like, there's no way anybody beat me on that.
Right.
Which ended up being true. But which was the game plan. Like since I started prep, that was the goal. Is I knew I actually out of all the events, that was the one I predicted most accurately. I said Sean and McKeegan were probably going to get the 800,
right? And
my goal was to get the first 4 as fast as possible.
Yeah,
which was why my biggest thing was practicing getting that 765 as the 4th bar without straps. And so that ended up actually being the difference between 3rd and 4th place on that event.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
especially in a big field like that, that's huge points.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I try not to do too much gaming in relation to other athletes, but I also know how other athletes are. So I like, and how my strengths and weaknesses are. So if I can, what I try not to do is not change my approach in the moment. Like, so whatever I train with the whole prep, whatever I reasoned out as the best strategy, that's what I stick with.
Sure.
Because usually those decisions are made not under pressure, not with adrenaline coursing through your body.
Yeah.
and you've thought about them a lot, as opposed to like second guessing yourself in the moment because like, oh, maybe I am wrong. Oh, I saw this person do that. He did that. I wonder which one's better. It doesn't matter, because trying those new things is going to be way more risky,
Right.
and usually not yield any positive results. But
yep, been there, done that, changing things last minute.
That was a lesson learned through experience.
Yep. Yeah, even though I've competed and learned that lesson, I still have made it like class 22, the medley, the carry medley in the qualims.
Yep.
I had been training the water barrel without gloves very successfully, and that barrel was just a little bit different, and I wasn't shouldering it, and so I tried gloves, and I'm like, oh, I could shoulder it really easily. And then they fucked me on the keg because I've never trained keg with gloves on, and it slipped. Like I went and pulled it like I always do, like that double snatch grab.
Yeah,
slipped right out of my hands.
Yep.
And all I had to do was finish that medley in any amount of time, and I would have been in the finals. And I totally screwed myself with changing it up. Because that's stupid water barrel. I should have just carried it without shouldering it. Would have been fun.
In 2020 nationals, I had been doing pretty well in training with that max distance Husafel carry, and then I saw other people carrying it a different way, and I was like, "Oh, that looks much better."
Yep.
So I the whistle blew, and I carried it like them. And I didn't, the first 50 feet, like before I even got to the first turnaround point, I was like, I've made a huge mistake.
Yep.
And so I did all right, but I dropped so many points because if I would, I had been doing way better in training with the technique I was using, but it was just like, well, that guy's been doing it longer than I have, and he's carrying it this way. So I'm going to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Never a good idea to change anything up competition day.
Nope. If you do all the right stuff during your preparation, you shouldn't have to think that much.
Right. Exactly.
You just execute. The planning's done. Preparation's done. You just execute.
Yep.
But if it's not done, that's when your brain starts to wonder a lot. You just got to be confident in the package you're bringing. Execute what you got on the day you need to. And that's, even if it's not the best prep, that's what you run with.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best advice I think anybody can give other athletes, man. Absolutely. Well, hey guys, I gotta actually call it an early. Well, I mean, we're still up for an hour, but I've not eaten. I've got a very early night.
No worries.
Any closing words, Dan? For our listeners, that you got an elevator speech or anything?
I'll just double down on kind of what I said in the beginning, like for all the newer lifters or for all the experienced lifters, actually probably more so the experienced lifters, stop focusing on the outcome, focus on the process. And you're not all the best people in the sport. That's their mentality going into it. Don't feel like your ego has to be hurt to reshape the way you think about it. I've reshaped my mindset numerous times and adjusted accordingly as I've gone through this journey as strongman. So regardless of your age in the sport or your actual age, be open to learning and focus on the process. The outcome will be there if you do the process correctly.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Learning never ends.
Nope.
No matter how old you are.
Nope.
Awesome, dude. Pleasure having you back on. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking.
Much. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram for updates. We'll catch you next time on World's Strongest Opinions.